Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, aProCh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very well-known and accomplished educator from Ahmedabad, India, Kiran Sethi. Kiran, welcome to the show.
Yay!
Kiran is the founder of Riverside School in Ahmedabad that focuses on empowering children with the I Can mindset. She's the founder of aProCh. I don't know how to pronounce that. aProCh, okay. An initiative to take our cities more child-friendly. She's the founder of Design for Change, which is today the largest movement of change. And with all the work that she's been doing, Kiran has been recognized, felicitated, and awarded several times. So, Kiran, before we start talking about Riverside School and aProCh, tell me about your own journey in brief.
Oh, okay. I'm actually born and brought up in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
And my earliest memories are of a home filled with laughter and joy and fun. Went to an all-girls school, the Bishop Cotton Girls High School.
Yeah.
And I think my memories of school were only about the friendships I made, and just time pass. But then I came to NID, and I remember I walked into the gates of NID when I was all of 17, and I remember breathing for the first time. I said, "Oh my God, this is what it has to feel like. This is what learning, this is what it is." And I think my first lucid understanding of what learning must be or can look like was really in the hallways of NID, in the gardens and the lawns of NID, the chai galla of NID, all of that you experience. And I come from a home filled with designers. My father was the first machine tool designer of India.
Wow.
First batch of IIT Kharagpur, I'm talking then, and designed the first indigenous lathe machine for Kirloskar called the Enterprise series. So there was always this design language at home. My sister, of course, also went to NID. She's a product designer and runs the Daily Dump, the composting initiative. My brother's a genius in engineering. So it was just all around me. Breathe it in, and you can understand what, pursuit of excellence is. And then, of course, I get married to Mr. Kiran Sethi. I'm world billiards champion. So I'm married to somebody again who pursues excellence. I think those are the narratives under which I was around: creativity, joy, excellence, hard work. And all of these, unbeknownst to me, must have planted those seeds of what not only Riverside was to become, but who I would grow into.
Amazing.
And and so graduated from NID with a degree in visual communication, had the best time designing restaurants and themes and etc. and corporate identity and all of that. And then I became a mother, and my whole world changed.
Changed again.
And I fell in love with my Baba, having him in my arms and saying, "Oh my God, the world should know you," and all of those big things. And then I put him into school. And the school, just in the first 3 months, I realized, oh my God, this can't be it. The teacher didn't even know his name. And she asked me what his roll number was. And I had this motherly angst that kind of went up. So I think for me, my education in design gave me the confidence of what change could look like. So as a mother, I reacted, oh my God, ye nahi ho sakta. And I think so much of what we do is this blame game and this complaint game and kuch nahi hota, government and all that stuff. I said, boss, there has to be a different way, and let's do it. So that's really how.
Fantastic. But then from NID to education, what made you start Riverside School?
Yeah, this whole thing about my son. I took him out of the school and I said, the same process of design that we all learned, right? The user-centered framework is what we've never put in education, right? It'll have always been incidental. Somebody has decided for you, okay? They sit in these big haloed, rooms and say, textbook karna hai, ye karna hai. Nobody's ever listened to the user. Child has never been in the table, never been in the room, right? So I think for me, using the design process to understand learning, understand how children learn. It was a very personal story of a mother. It eventually morphed into this idea of being interested in education as a large story. But the idea was, how can learning be challenging, meaningful, purposeful, joyful for my own son first. And then subsequently, Riverside then had the first batch of 26 people who betted on me and my team. And then it grew into this
Amazing. And Kiran, when I was reading about you, you also talk about the I can mindset for children. Help me understand this mindset and give me an example.
Well, I think the example comes when you've learned I can't.
Okay.
It's simply that, right? And I saw that in my son, right? In the first 3 months, my son came back once. I said, Beta, why can't you do it like this? He said, no, Mama, I can't. Teacher told me. And it is so insidious and so all-pervasive that that's what, and then we, as parents, we kind of look at it in hindsight, say, ye to aisa hi hai na, kuch nahi badalta hai na, this is the way we turned out fine na. So by fluke and by chance, you turned out all right. It's not by design that all children have to graduate with this degree. So for me, that really was it. And then, and I think the design process gives you this confidence, this creative confidence that that you can. And I think everybody must have that. So that's really what the I can mindset really is.
Amazing. And at Riverside, what do you do differently from so many other schools? Because I love what you said, the schools say, yahan to aisa hi hota hai. And I think you're making a change. So tell me, what are you doing differently?
I don't think we're doing anything differently. I think the fact that the children know they have to make a difference, and that's the purpose of learning, is really at the heart of the governing principle. It is not, oh my God, I'll have a robotic lab and have a swimming pool and all that, fancy stuff. So it isn't that at all. I think what we challenge those myths that, learning has to be by a timetable, the learning has to be didactic, the learning has to be one way, the learning has to be in rows, and everybody has to keep quiet and be good. I think challenging that was, the children were telling us that. I mean, when I started, my oldest was 6-year-olds. And they were pretty much telling us everything. They were the experts. Oh, we like to learn when we are happy. So, I mean, in listening to the children, one learned a lot more. And I think that pretty much crafted, how does learning look like, feel like, and I think by using those insights, and of course, validating it with the theories of education, which we did a lot of reading on and went and did everything that had to be done. But really, it is the heart of the child that matters. And then the mind gets involved in putting that front and center and having that co-creation with the child to saying, you are in this journey with me. I'm not designing anything for you. I'm not entertaining you. I'm not responsible for your happiness. It's the joy that has to come. It's a purpose and meaning that has to come. Maybe that's what people resonated with. So when people started coming to Riverside, they said, kuch acha ho raha hai. Pata nahi kya, lekin kuch to acha ho raha hai. And I think it comes from that same feeling I had when I walked into NID. Kuch to acha ho raha hai.
Absolutely.
Because we were listened to. We became participants in the journey. So I think that those were the blueprints for what finally happened at Riverside. And that's what I say the difference. Yeah.
Amazing. And yet, Kiran, one of the challenges that has often been spoken about in India is our pressure cooker education system. But we still keep producing some great students, and Indians seem to be excelling all over the world, as it's getting even more obvious.
I disagree. I'm sorry, Ashutosh. We've got 1.6 billion people.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, come on. The rare people that get it are doing it despite and in spite of the system, not because of it. So I don't think that's a fair assessment of the numbers and what we produce. So I think we've left so much to chance. We've left it to saying that wo system kaam kar raha tha, whatever that system was, and we just are repeating that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the NEP's new policy was such a fresh breath of fresh air after they say, that's really what the vision should be. But in my head, none of this is rocket science or unusual. It seems to be something that is common sense. Children must engage, children must speak. And I think it's not in contradiction to the academic results if everybody's worried. Research and outperform the top 10 schools in India in your math, science, and English. So it's not an either or, but to intentionally believe in it and to make it your driving mission every single day, that's really what you have to commit to.
Very fascinating. But what can India do differently? I mean, you spoke a little bit about the new education policy. How is the NEP making a difference in the lives of our children?
It's not yet, because it still has to be implemented. But there is a vision of individualization. There's a vision of agency. There's a vision of purpose and meaning and skills. So there is all of this, and I think eventually, I think now the effort is to put that into the daily practice. It is not a once a month we do a terrific exhibition of learning and say, "Chalo, next month now I meet you and figure that out." It has to shift. Finally, it has to shift your timetable. If it doesn't shift the timetable, it is going to be left to chance. I think I'll be excited to see how the vision of the NEP is finally shaped into that daily practice. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. One more question, and I actually wrote a book on this, on failure, because, my hypothesis always was that Indian parents, whether it was my parents or we never teach children it's okay to fail. Constant pressure, first in class, head of the line, etc. And that manifests itself in our behavior patterns. So as an educator, my question to you is, how can we teach children the importance of understanding failure?
I think that's an incorrect word. That's where my problem is. I think failure and success are both social constructs. Somebody else is telling you, "Oh my God, you failed," and somebody else is telling you you've succeeded.
Correct.
And I think if you look at sportsmen, and I've had the good fortune of having one in my house for so many years, I think it's the pursuit of excellence that happens. And so you're always on a journey. And feedback loop and responsibility is what we don't give the time for. So look at our exam system. We give one number and we say, that's it. You have no chance to refine or prototype or to pivot. We don't give that time. So that is considered, oh my God, failure. So if you shift that language into a feedback mechanism and a refinement opportunity and the ability to take that and feed it back into your work, then it's an idea, it's an act of responsibility. It is in my choice if I've chosen to take it or not. Right? So it's those words that we don't do. We say, "Oh, failure ho gaya." Or bada success ho gaya. Both are somebody else telling you that.
Correct.
I don't think we give enough self-awareness and reflection on our own personal journeys. And we make a big deal of it, and we kind of, glamorize this whole thing. Oh, fail forward, fail fast, all of those words around it. So for me, I think let's just take the choice. It's within you. You have the opportunity to take the feedback. Take a written example. I've written a piece of work and I go for a feedback and I've been given. Now it's my decision whether I want to take it or not. Then I can't complain, "Arey yaar, mere ko marks nahi aaye." So, but to give that feedback, that loop, that needs to be timed for. And I think most schools keep having this thing that, oh my God, time kahan pe? Math, science, English padhana hai. Where's the time? Even to smile at you. So this perception that there is no time seems to be the overriding.
Great response.
Yeah.
Great response. Thank you. So, Kiran, now let's talk about aProCh. And I've got the pronunciation right now, which is an initiative to make our cities more child-friendly. So let me start by asking you, what was your inspiration to start aProCh? And what do you hope to achieve with this initiative?
It actually started with a conversation with my then 7th graders. They were 12. And I was their class teacher. And I often used to talk about my childhood. I would say, when I was young, I used to play Dabbai Spice and Chor Police and all of that. And we were always playing. We would come back from school and we'd play on the streets of the city. And I said, "What do you all do?" And they said, "No, our parents don't allow us to go out in the streets. It's not safe." And that pretty much started this conversation. My God, how can a city not design for childhood? How can a city not be the child's, landscape or a playground? that started this initiative of going to the municipal corporation and, with the kids, right? And going to the traffic police and commissioner, going to NID, going to IM and saying, boss, you've got the brightest design and business minds in the world sitting here. Let's do something for the city. And it became truly a collaborative enterprise of getting everybody involved to saying, how do we close down the busiest street for traffic and then make it a playground for children? And really bring this metaphor that the city will slow down first child. And we put the first child-friendly zebra crossing. We were playing games on the street. We were playing cricket and kabaddi and dancing. It just was such a beautiful moment of community. And I think that caught the people's fancy. And today, aProCh then does 4 main items. One is the Street Smart. We call it Street Smart, closing down the street. Now, by the way, every Sunday we do it.
Wonderful.
Every Sunday. We call it Happy Street, and the Smart City Initiative has taken it on. We do the parks. So every Sunday there's I think there are 3 parks in the city that open up places for doing yoga and games, etc. Then moving experience, which is the best multiplexes, which give one of the shows for the children, from the street to go and have a cinema experience. So these Jenny became a place to say, how can the city take care of its child? So aProCh started in 2007 on August 15th, which is just going to be our, our some 70th
76th, 77th.
Yeah, so that's how aProCh started, and we are now doing this.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. But while you were building aProCh, what were some of your challenges?
A lot, but my God, I can't even remember those. But it just, the biggest, not really challenge, but the biggest lesson that I learned was you have to show up.
Correct.
You show up. You walk in without an ego. Your ego takes a solid beating, and you can't walk into any of the rooms with saying, oh, but they didn't listen to me, they didn't talk to me properly, and all that nonsense. You show up because your interest will fuel the others, right? If you show up just for the superficial sake of saying, oh, but I want to do something nice, but you're not giving me permission. Okay, then I'll go. No, you are dogged. You sit there. You don't take no for an answer. You show up. You sit there for 5 hours outside the rooms when you're waiting for your appointment. You show up when they say, Ben, abhi aao, and you land up. It's all of that. All of that. You just show up. Yeah.
Amazing. And tell me a little more about how you got children involved in this initiative, and what were their reactions?
It was really the children who made all the presentations to the municipal commissioner, to the traffic police commissioner, to people at NID, to people at IM, saying, this is our city, we want it, and you have to be part of this. I think that conviction that they were showing, and they would land up for each of the meetings. In fact, they met the then president, Dr. Abdul Kalam, as well, and talked about, and he said, you are so good. And they all felt very happy. But they landing up meant that this was a story about children asking for not necessarily rights, but to be heard, to be seen, to be noticed. And so much of adulthood is saying, jitna kam ho sake bachon ko aao. Keep them away. And I think this idea was, we want to be front and center. We want to be seen. So I think for us, I mean, this was the children from Riverside who were leading this particular thing, but eventually it became a collaboration from different schools that we got everybody involved, and then different schools started taking the street at different times. But it was just fabulous. In fact, we're celebrating again in the next week, but it really is. And I think so much of it is bringing that joy and having that police inspector come and say, Ben, meri bhi beti aayegi. It was that, and it was that little boot polish boy came and, he was tug my things. Teesri baar mein aaya hoon. It was just,
How
my
wonderful.
God, it was fabulous.
How wonderful. How wonderful. So one more question with regard to aProCh. How do you see the future of a city evolving?
I feel the thing that we can do, and I think this is something we have also shared, is bring the stakeholders into the meeting. All right. And I think in terms of understanding that finally that child is going to be a citizen of the city. And cities that say that we care for children cannot not have cycling paths or places that are safe for children or transport that is safe for children or street lights that light up so the child can be on that street. So it's really an act of noticing the youngest citizen, which is a child, and I think inviting them or including them into the conversations are fundamental to making cities more inclusive and ready for all.
Amazing. I can only say, Kiran, thank you for the work that you're doing for children. I mean, leaders like you, and there are many in different cities. I think you're really making a change in the way governments think and the way all of us who've been so used to legacy systems are beginning to say, yahan aisa nahi ho sakta, and we can make a change. Wonderful. So I have time for two more questions for you. I also wanted to ask you about design for change. And what are you doing there? And how are you integrating that with aProCh and Riverside School?
Well, design for change is really an outcome of taking the same design process that we created at Riverside to now offer it to children across, right? First in India, it started in India in 2009. And it was really an opportunity to design a simple framework to get children to believe that they can make their world a better place. And we just sent it out to 30,000 schools in 11 languages. And we just kind of did this blast. And I remember the first story of change came to us from Dimapur. My God, we started crying. We said, oh my God, these children are there making their world a better place. And that year we got over 800 stories of children making their world a better place using our framework, which is feel, imagine, do, and share. We call it Fits for Kids. And then, of course, I got the opportunity to speak on TED that year when it came to Mysore. And the talk apparently went viral. And the first inquiry came to me from Taiwan, from Global. Oh my God, I saw your talk, and can we do it? And pretty much that set us on this beautiful journey of taking it across the world. We are now in 66 countries.
Wow.
This movement of its kind of getting children to use the design process to change the world.
Amazing, amazing. And Kiran, my last question for you, and this is for the thousands of people who will listen to our conversation, based on the amazing work that you are doing as an educator to support children, cities, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away? Because what I'm hearing from you is an incredibly positive mindset.
One, be shameless. In whatever you do, if you believe in something, being polite and shy about it won't work. So being shameless is a good idea. The other, keep a sense of humor. I think the world doesn't need your fatigue, doesn't need your tiredness, doesn't need your, oh my God, look at me, I'm doing so much work kind of a mindset. It is joy. So I would say that. Stamina. We talk so much about talent, but I think it's stamina that takes you for the long run. So I think stamina is a massive ingredient that you need for whatever you do. I think the last, which I'm learning more and more just after the work and the age I am and everything, that you only have today. The whole thing of deferring the promise to tomorrow or next week or next month, I think that means one day less for the work you do. So
Well said. And on that note, Kiran, your amazing lessons: be shameless, have a sense of humor, you need the stamina for the long run, and the fourth one you said was you only have today. Aaj kal kare so aaj kare so ab, right? Thank you so much for speaking to me about your absolutely incredible journey from NID to education. Thank you for talking to me about Riverside School, about aProCh, and about Design for Change. Thank you again, and good luck.
Bye. See you.
Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.